I did think that we should honor Juneteenth as one would by playing what went mega viral. We shared it with you yesterday on the social media accounts. When you actually dive in to The View, I would maintain that it is the dumbest program that has ever been allowed to appear daily on television for some time, and the arguments just keep getting more ridiculous. So, there was a discussion. I want to give credit to one of the ladies on The View. Alyssa Farah Griffin has family of Iranian descent. I believe her father is Iranian. I could be wrong on that. Guys, will you check that in the studio? But she has a connection to Iran and in her family background. And they were discussing freedoms for women in Iran. And just to reinforce, in case you are not aware, in Iran, women have, to a large extent, no human rights, at least comparable to what would exist in the West. For instance, and I believe they've only changed this recently, women were not even allowed to go watch the Iranian soccer team play. The Iranian soccer stadium only allowed men to go watch soccer. Now, this is a big deal. Soccer is a huge sport all over the world, but the most popular sport in Iran, women weren't allowed to go in there. Sounds somewhat ridiculous, but that is true. I think they now allow a handful of women into the stadium. I think they have progressed there. You can be beaten and arrested if you are not covered correctly as you walk the streets of Iran. There have been protests from women who say, hey, can we just not have to wear a hijab? Can we just uncover our hair? Can we allow our faces to be seen? And the religious police will walk around in Iran and arrest and or beat women who defy dress codes all over the country. So whatever you think of life in America, women comparably have it pretty good here. And honestly, this was one of my biggest issues with the Megan Rapinos on the U.S. women's soccer team. You know, for the Women's World Cup, you can basically pick every winner just by analyzing human rights in the country. Because while our women go on the international stage and rip America, the reason why our women are super talented at soccer is because they can wear shorts and they have basic human rights. Is it a surprise that the women who have the most human rights would also be the best at athletics? And also this speaks to the incredible wealth of America, because in general, it is a luxury to be able to put your kids into sports and allow them to develop as athletes. Most really athletic men get noticed and can have success around the world because male athletics is still a moneymaker to a large extent in much of the world. Women's athletics, to a large extent, is not in most of the world. And so it is an incredible sign of both human rights and the wealth of this nation that we have tens of millions of girls who are playing elite-level soccer in this country. And so I wish that the U.S. women's soccer team, when they're on the global stage, instead of denigrating the United States and refusing to go visit the White House after they won the World Cup in 2019 and Trump was in office, I wish they had said, hey, we may not agree on every political issue in the United States, but what we certainly agree on is women should be able to compete at the absolute highest level of athletics. And the reason why we're having success on the global stage is actually a reflection of America's embrace of human rights. And we wish women around the world had the same rights that women have in the United States. That's a really strong argument. I think it would have been compelling. I think that there would have been a lot of little girls all over the world who heard that and were even more aspirational to be great at sports, but also to look up to the United States women who are great at sports and could be their role models going forward. Instead, Megan Rapinoe said, hey, if you're a man and you want to play women's soccer, I think you should be able to do so. She lifted the ladder, not unlike what we just saw Simone Biles do in her tweet at Riley Gaines. Okay, so they're discussing how life is in Iran. Alyssa Farah Griffin, who directly knows how the women of Iran are treated based on her family's background, is trying to make the point that Israel has basic human rights. And in fact, I haven't heard very many people react to this, but you know one of the things that they had to cancel in Israel because of all the missiles coming in from Iran? The Pride March. The Pride March. Israel, I believe, is the only country in the entire Middle East that would even have a Pride March because gay people otherwise get thrown off the roofs of buildings and beheaded in many different Middle Eastern countries, which is why Gays for Gaza is one of the dumbest American political arguments of all time. But they were trying to have a conversation about that, and Whoopi Goldberg took it over and said she doesn't think black people in America have it better than the average woman in Iran. This was actually what ABC aired yesterday. Play the cut.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black. Let me tell you about being in this country. This is the greatest country in the world. But, yeah, I know that. I know that. And we all know that. But every day, we are worried. Do we have to be worried about our kids? Are our kids going to get shot because they're running through somebody's neighborhood?
Nobody wants to diminish the very real problems we have in this country. That is no one's intent.
Good.
But I think it's important we remember there are places much darker than this country and people who deserve rights.
Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody feels that way. Listen, I'm sorry. You know, when you think about the fact that we got the vote in 1965,
okay, they don't have free and fair elections in Iran. It's not even the same universe.
They can't go out of their house. Women.
You know what? There's no way I can make you understand.
There's no way I can make you understand because you're a moron, Whoopi Goldberg. You make $8 million a year to go on a show, to not do basic research, to have no idea how things are around the rest of the world. To compare how black people live in America in 2025 with how women live in Iran in 2025 is so brain dead that, honestly, I think that The View has become so toxic for just its stupidity that ABC News has to be looking around how much money could they possibly make off this show versus how much brand equity are they losing. I just can't believe that anyone could be this dumb. And by the way, it's not just Whoopi Goldberg. There are lots of people all over the United States who have no conception for how good we all have it in this country. And I really do wish, a part of me does, that every American had to spend 2 years, sort of like the Mormon mission. A lot of you out there listening in Utah, you're part of your religious faith. Your kids will go on a 2-year mission. They don't know where they're going to go all over the world. If we had 2 years of service required for every American teenager at 18 years old, and you had to go to a third world country and actually try to make that third world country better, and you had to live there, and you had to see how people in that country lived, when you got on an airplane and you came back here, you would kiss the ground when you stepped off that airplane. There is no conception, by and large, among huge populations in the United States of how incredibly fortunate we all are to live here. Does not mean that the United States is perfect. No country created by humans in the history of mankind has ever been perfect. But if you had to choose right now, there's a great analogy that Warren Buffett has. He says, if you want to contemplate, I think it's such a good one, if you want to contemplate how you should feel relative to the rest of the world, imagine that there was a huge vase and there were 7 billion marbles in it. It's roughly the population of the world. Not one person in the United States, and if you drew a marble out of that 7 billion, not one person in the entire United States should ever risk changing places, right? It's a great analogy if your kids are out there, if they don't understand gratitude, one of the most powerful emotions there is. If you had to take a marble out of that 7 billion and you changed places with whatever marble you drew, not one person in the United States should ever make that trade, because the chances are that you would go to a vastly inferior country with vastly less human rights and economic resources. And so when I see people like Whoopi Goldberg who are making millions of dollars a year, who have become fabulously wealthy, arguing that the average black person in America is somehow in worse place than the women of Iran and even the men, it is so incomprehensibly dumb that I think ABC News should be looking at a show like that and saying, boy, I know it's called The View, but we should have a standard of basic intelligence, and our show hasn't met it. Send Whoopi Goldberg to do the show from the average country in the third world and make her live like the people do there. First of all, she wouldn't do it, but I do think it would be important and clarifying in many ways to actually know of which you are speaking, as opposed to trying to denigrate and pull down the aspirations, hopes, and realities of so many young people that might be watching that show and believe her that they have no chance for success, and then want to marinate in the idea of their own victimization because they aren't aware of how truly fortunate they are, no matter what your background is, to live in the United States of America today. So happy Juneteenth. I wanted to start with that. Today, national holiday. A lot of people taking the day off, and maybe some people are going to be getting ready for July 4th as well. This is a day to grill. I'm going to be grilling today because we're celebrating my mother-in-law's birthday, and we're going to be using Good Ranchers to help celebrate. We're going to put their meats on the grill. We're going to have a fabulous time. I love what Ben and Corley have done with this business, he and his wife. No hormones, antibiotics, or seed oils. They have 4 young kids, just pure, delicious steaks, burgers, and chicken. They trust Good Ranchers. They founded the company to feed their family, and now they want to use it to feed yours as well. People signing up like crazy. Subscribe right now. You get your pick of free meat for life. That can be Wagyu burgers, hot dogs, bacon, chicken wings, whatever you want, whether you're salmon, whether you're chicken, whether you're steak, whatever type of meat you want. This is American-raised meat from right here in the good old USA. And if you use my name, Clay, at checkout, you get an extra $40 off your first box. GoodRanchers.com. My name, Clay, at checkout to get your free meal for life plus $40 off. That is GoodRanchers.com. American meat delivered. GoodRanchers.com. My name, Clay, at checkout for $40 off. GoodRanchers.com. Clay, $40 off. Go sign up today.